instead. So looking to have the Rell at that level 6 interrupt the jumps that this Tristana will have offered for herself in that bottom lane.
Oh, and this can be Beichuan picking up the Nidalee. Okay. This is something Beichuan's very, very good at. Obviously, we know this guy can be able to jump well within his champion pool. Alistar locked in, Kaisa answered. We are rocketing through the draft deck.
Yeah, and what I love about this Alistar and pairs is that it pairs so well with this Nidalee in the jungle as well. Because oftentimes we're thinking, right, you know, Nidalee can play towards top with things like the Renekton, but with these things off the table, you certainly want that guaranteed CC somewhere to enable Nidalee in the lanes. And Alistar and Tristana does that beautifully. Very heavy all in kill lane, plus the ability to facilitate this Nidalee. So I expect FPX to be playing super heavily towards Lwx and Trist, especially with the short range Kaisa, where it's so easy to abuse as this Alistar.
Well, let's move towards the second bans here. It's going to be Jace taking off the board. Again, very safe line pick top laner. Same for the Scion that has been removed from now B5. Could look towards trying to ban something away from the mid lane. It's going to be the Nocturne taken away from Doinb. Now over to the FPX. You could go for something like the Zoe as well if you wanted, but maybe an AD mid laner again here for the side of B5 with that Lillia. But I don't know, Mole not typically known for his AD mid laners.
There is the opportunity for like FPX or even B5 here to take away something like the Twisted Fate. I think Mole has been pretty exceptional with this. Sets up quite well for the Kaisa, can do really well as a follow-up for the Rell if you want. But certainly I think it's such a strong pick for the FPX draft where, as we talked about, like you've got the ability to play heavily around this bottom side. Nidalee, Alistar and Tristana do very well in a 1-3-1 scenario or even a 1-4 scenario as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if Doinb is eyeing up this Twisted Fate pick as well.
That one would be an interesting lock-in. The Lucian is there. It's a flex. And again, this flex pick on the red side as the fourth pick. Could be mid, could be top here. And FPX have to figure that out.
Yeah, I imagine it is going towards Mole in the mid lane. Mole has played this heap and has done really, really well on it. And it does give yourselves the opportunity to go towards Langx, who has favored those tanks a lot more. Now, we've obviously seen the Malphite and the Scion banned away, but certainly Langx is more about these team fight facilitators and being that strong front line. Lucian isn't something that I traditionally associate with.
We get a Kennen for Nuguri. We get the set for Doinb. Again, they decided this set was not the issue last time. They go for the same thing again with Doinb, but Nuguri bringing the Kennen. This is one of his picks that he always makes a huge impact on the game on. And it feels good to see Nuguri on a carry again, on something he can really influence the game here. Up against the Camille, though, this is a bit of a Langx special, and Langx not playing one of these tanks, not playing that defensive style that we're so used to from him this year.
Yeah, and honestly, this is starting to look more like we're going to see Langx operate in a side lane. I think certainly he has the opportunity to go really aggressive against this Kennen in the early stages of the game. Nuguri will have his work cut out for him if Langx is able to close that distance and be able to honestly have kill pressure on towards the Kennen in the top lane. So now it opens up a little bit more question marks for FPX, where if you're playing super heavy around this bottom side of the map, what happens in that top lane? Because you can just have this Camille run away with the top side matchup and become a major thorn in the side of the FPX game.
Yeah, that would be the thing. It's like trying to deny the FPX game plan, right? Trying to temper that mid jungle. We talked about the mid jungle matchup coming into the series, and I really do think that is going to be the story. We saw both Mole and WeiWei having fantastic performances in game number 1, and they need to do that again. They need to shut down this this Nidalee from Beichuan. They need to shut down the set from Doinb. If they're able to do that, they can be set up in a fantastic spot to take us to 3 games. But B5, after that game 1 performance, I'm feeling good for them, Dagda.
Yeah, and it's certain
stage, V5. This is a difficult draft to execute. This is not going to be simple for them. This is complex League of Legends that they're bringing to the table, and FPX with a bit more of a simple composition, right? A bit more of a just run at them and press all of your buttons kind of composition. So definitely feels like ease of execution on the side of FPX, but the momentum right here is on the side of V5. They're feeling good off the back of game 1, and they're looking to snowball that into a 2-0 win.
I think as you said, the ease for FPX is certainly there. Like looking towards like the opportunity, as we said, Beichuan bot, Beichuan even going mid with Doinb. I think these could work out super, super well and trying to get these early advantages for FPX. So I think a lot is going to be on Mole and WeiWei, as you were kind of highlighting there, Munch, that these need to be the guys that are keeping everyone in check. And WeiWei's actually opted towards the Predator, Lillia.
Yeah.
I think that might be a misclick. I don't really see a world where Lillia actually has an issue getting into lane.
I have seen this before. I don't think it'll be a misclick. It's about being able to get to the side lanes, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, you can definitely have the speed up. I just think in this game specifically, I don't see a need where you're going to need this Predator, right? Because in that top lane for Langx, he's able to lock down Nuguri quite a bit. Looking at that bot lane as well, ppgod, I mean, he's Rell, right? You have every lockdown under the sun. It doesn't matter. So for me, the Predator just seems very, very strange. Especially as you're kind of looking at like a dive composition as well from FPX, like they will be jumping in on top of you. Honestly, you need something to get away. So I would have preferred something like maybe even the phase rush, or if you really wanted to go towards the Dark Harvest. But yeah, the Predator seems like a very strange take for me in this game. And I'm curious to see if WeiWei can make it.
He is going to be a speedy boy. That is unarguable. Yeah. With that Predator, he's going to be dashing into those lanes real quick. It can certainly up your gank potential in the early game. Doinb looking to set up flashes in onto Mole. Beichuan is here as well. Can they get the spear? The answer is yes. Doinb looking to finish it. Mole doesn't have anywhere to go. His flash is up. Dodges away from the Haymaker. The bot lane can come up from V5 to help their mid laner. WeiWei is here, waiting around the corner. Mole gets away with his life.
And that's what we were talking about in those early stages, is the opportunity for FPX to set up for Beichuan with Doinb. However, not being able to get the kill does kind of suck, because both the Ghost and the Flash invested by Doinb means it's going to be a little bit more difficult to try and have that rinse and repeat unless they can bring Crisp up from this bottom lane and get in towards the mid lane.
Beichuan able to get the spike down. Oh, I think actually WeiWei got it with his dot in the end. Doinb now tagging it up. Haymaker comes through. Crisp is in on the scene. WeiWei ignite, but the spear goes wide. V5 on the re-engage. Flash away. Comes out from Crisp. Trigger can't finish any kills off. So I believe Beichuan smited the crab there, but WeiWei's dot finished it off, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And, so nice call, Much, being able to pick that out. But I'm actually looking towards this mid lane. Mole having TP'd back towards lane, then having to come down in towards this bottom river to try and help out at this fight. And with nobody going down, it actually bought a lot of time for Doinb to get his own reset in and get back towards the mid lane without really losing anything. So Mo's TP not really netting too much now in that mid lane and kind of giving a bit of respite towards Doinb. But we will have to see now what Beichuan can do. As we said, Flash is burnt galore in that. When you look towards the mid lane, you're looking towards WeiWei as well. Like, I want to see Beichuan now try and take advantage of this.
Nugury's in trouble right here. Damage early on the Predator from WeiWei. This is why you're locking in. Damage is there. The swirl seed comes in. One more auto. WeiWei's low. Oh, he barely gets out with his life. Sub 30 HP.
That was so damn close. Although, bot side, no, ppgod just going to stop the reset. But WeiWei going so low, but manages to get the kill on towards Nuguri. And as he said, the Predator coming in pretty big there. We're able to close that gap. I honestly thought that with the way that Langx would try and set up this lane for the dives, you wouldn't need it. You'd just be able to get WeiWei in towards the lane. But certainly, being able to follow that flash from Nuguri came in clutch with Predator.
Yeah, Nuguri, I'm not going to lie, he's been struggling a bit this series with the Aatrox in game number 1, really not working out for him. And now game number 2, getting caught out by the Predator, going to be going even with Langx in the CS department as well. Having a bit of a rough one on the Kennen, but let's be honest, the Kennen pick, you're picking it for those team fights, you're picking it for that big ulties. But unfortunately for him, loses that TP advantage. That was the big thing that you'd set up previously, was Mole and Langx and had to TP early, but with that gank, WeiWei has set his team up for success by burning the TP ability.
And honestly, he hasn't lost that much either. Like I know he is behind in CS right now, but Beichuan actually didn't try and go into the opposite side of the jungle and steal away some of the camps that have respawned, which could have really set WeiWei behind. Now instead, though, WeiWei going for the repeat gank on top.
Oh, they do not like Nuguri today. They do not want him to have a good time. Langx even gifted over the kill by WeiWei there. Beautifully done. Guess what? V5's top lane set up for success again. 2 games running now. We see WeiWei just going up to the top side repeatedly to set Langx up.
Beichuan trying to answer mid for us.
It was a little bit wide from Mole there, and that's an easy follow-up. This is the Sett Nidalee combo that we were talking about. It's so easy to combo those skills together.
Yeah, and especially after you burnt that flash from Mole already, and Doinb having that Q, being able to chase down Mole. But again, it's just people trading across the map. Like V5, every time they make a play on top, FPX are answering in the mid lane. This time, however, I actually prefer this for V5 because Langx is on that carry. We highlighted back in Champ Select that this is somewhere they can look to punish. And when you're going towards the Triforce, more than likely going up towards this, the Sheen going up towards the Triforce for Langx, he is opting in towards this more split push oriented build, and he has the potential to just take over in these side lanes.
Wants to try and get the Scuttlecraft ppgods there, but there's a fantastic the end, so Beichuan gets away with that one. Man, we're off to a pretty quick start once again here. Langx, though, should have a bit of an advantage on the top side. He's still in a melee versus range matchup, so you have to give him a little bit of leeway in that regard. It is always going to be somewhat difficult, especially against Nuguri. Now that he has that slicing maelstrom, it's going to be real hard for Langx to make anything happen significantly on that top side without WeiWei's help.
But this is the thing, it becomes so easy to set up for WeiWei when you've got the Hextech ultimatum. And even though he's like, what, 7 CS behind, that Wave's pushing into him. He'll answer for that. He's actually not that far behind at all. And I think that we're just going to see this constant rinse and repeat. Now, FPX realizing that have said, right, we need to make something happen in this mid lane, or otherwise we just are going to fall way too far behind. You're top side.
Again, who needs Hextech ultimatum when he just walks straight into you? Another
Beichuan.
kill for Langx. Mole takes a bit of a chunk from Beichuan, but it's not enough of an answer from FPX. They were trying to set up a play. You could see them lining the river, clearing vision. Spear goes out from Beichuan. Want to deny these growths, but it's just not happening. FPX just can't find a single win here.
No, I mean, look, they're trying to see if they can trade this for a place in mid, but they don't really have pressure right now. Like, they can't go towards Rift Herald even off the resets because you've got Tristana linked to this bottom side of the map as Trigger and PP got pushed in. Doinb's not really in a position to take these plays particularly quickly either. He's going to have to reset here, so you're just getting these free wins for V5, and even with FPX giving up that tempo to have Chris move up towards his top side, they're not gaining anything from it. So honestly, V5 are just outperforming FPX across the board.
It's beautiful to see, honestly. It's beautiful to see V5 back on form again against a team that is currently in 5th place on the standings, a team that has 10 wins on the board. This is a really, really good look for V5, and it feels like a bit of a revitalization for the team that really have struggled across the course of the split. If you're just tuning in for the first time in the LPL for a little while, you'll be thinking of V5 from last year. You'll have been all aboard the hype train. Not the case this split, unfortunately. They really have struggled. This is a fantastic look for them moving forward in the split. And again, their playoff dream is alive technically if they can win this series, but it is very much on technicalities. It is very much dependent on the results of other teams. So the best they can do right now is look good on the rip.
And I have to say a large portion of this game is coming down to Mole and his ability to play the laning phase. He's been really, really strong thus far, where hasn't had a huge amount of vision control set up for himself, but has been reading the map incredibly well. Now, he did dive once to the ganks that were coming through from FPX, but when you've had Crisp come into your lane, Beichuan repeatedly in your lane, Doinb trying his damnedest to set up for these plays as well. The fact that Mole has only given across 1 kill and managed to escape twice, and Nest wins for V5 as a result of doing so, is really helping V5 to have these early wins. Now, FPX have found an opportunity to push in this mid lane and move Doinb across. They also have Nuguri pushing in top, so they will be able to set up for this Rift Herald, and at least that's a nice timing window here that FPX have managed to use.
So I want to point out another statistic here, Dagda, if you'll bear with me. I talked a lot in game number 1 about V5's loss rate when they're behind at 15, how they still have yet to get a win this split when they're behind at 15. But I want to counter that. I want to give the positive side of that. Because when they are ahead at 15 minutes, they have an 86% win rate, and they want to keep that snowball going as they move towards Nuguri here. Looks like the fight is going to be deterred here. They are second in the league with an 86.7% win rate when they're ahead at 15 minutes. In fact, they're tied with JDG for the very best in the league at closing out games when they're ahead.
And I mean, look, we saw that in the last game. These guys are so good at being able to transition those Rift Heralds in, but bot side?
Go in with the engage. The culling comes through. Lwx might just go down here. 1 HP. Mole finally gets the auto through. Crisp able to survive, but it's another pick for V5.
Yeah, this has been absolute domination from V5 in the early stages. Again now, Mole getting out of that mid lane, moving down towards this bottom side, picking up the kills. WeiWei as well, moving in towards that mid lane to cover any sort of hole that FPX might have been able to exploit. And now, again, Doinb not even trying to use the opportunity he has here to make a play elsewhere because he knows he can't. So now, Doinb resetting, you've got big advantages for V5. With Dragon on the cards as well, I'd love to see V5 start to stack and rack these.
It's feeling real good for V5, and you know, they haven't started early on these Drakes, but that's okay, because they're snowballing through other win conditions, and just a really great engage here for V5.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that some people don't realize about Rell is that when you use that W, you can actually activate the ult during the cast time of your W and crash down. So you can see there, ppgod flashes in, uses the ultimate midway through the W, which just locks everyone up into the middle of that magnetism. Then you hit the multi-man knockdown with the crash down, and it's so difficult for Lwx or Crisp to even respond. So nice play coming through from ppgod to set that up. And now this is where V5 try. Let's move in towards the jungle. Get the vision control down. Allow WeiWei to start taking away some of these camps, getting control around these objectives, and making it really difficult for FPX to play the game. As I say that, FPX have committed multiple people down towards this bottom lane with the Rift Herald in tow.
Yeah, they'll be able to slam this Herald, just trying to get some gold into the pocket of Lwx here. He's certainly going to be a primary carry for them. With that bomb, they should be able to turn this into 4 plates, and they want to fight as well. Doinb in with the showstopper. The facebreaker can't find 2. Actually flashes forward just to get it. Haymaker in as well. And that's the shield down. He's out of cooldowns, and Hextech Ultimatum closes him into the fight. Lwx gets the first one onto WeiWei though. Nuguri in with the slice of Maelstrom, turning it around, but he's shut down in the end. V5 somehow turning this around. ppgod stuns the whole team. The facebreaker's in, the Haymaker's there. Beichuan trying to close the kills. Can he do what Nuguri couldn't? Trigger shuts him down in the end. V5 come out on top the slow onto Christmas Langx, desperately trying to finish the last member, waiting for the hook shot. But Crisp, I don't think you get to survive this one, my friend. Headbutt onto a minion. The slow should be available for Langx any second. Crisp will run it around, but V5, they managed to get themselves the fight.
Get to the blast code, Crisp! Get to the blast code! You can do it! I mean, look, Crisp goes down, and so do the entirety of FPX in that play. And overcommitment, honestly, from FPX. V5 were in a solid position to try and turn that play around. And although it looked great to begin with, just nobody on FPX was on the same page. When we do pop up with the replay here, we can actually look as Doinb is flashing in, Lwx has already turned back to what attacked the kind of minion. He assumes that the play is done, and when the Tristana isn't following up on the play, same with the Nidalee, it all becomes super messy for FPX. And you can see now, even though FPX were able to get that gold from the turret in that bottom side of the map, they will finish it off here. It's still a 2,000 gold lead for them.
It is really beautiful to see from the side of V5. The fact that they're able to call the bluff of FPX, the fact that they're able to answer for Nuguri slicing Maelstrom. You see Nuguri going on Ken, and you're like, okay, this is the play, this is the play. It's just like built into your brain at this point that that's how this works. V5, they don't care about Nuguri. They care about Drakes right now as they force FPX away.
Yeah, they'll be able to force them back. Nice job here, and this should rightfully be V5's, although as I say, it's a Cloud Dragon. Nobody really wanting to overextend to try and push towards that. But now when we look towards top lane,
Nuguri gets the stun onto Langx here. should be able to clear the wave. Langx could just redive this though. Nuguri is super low, but that's some good harass down. That should be enough harass to keep Nuguri safe for now. Beichuan waiting in the wings. It's a bait, mate. Are you going to get it? 8 out of 8 here. Langx should be fine. Spots the trap going down. Still tries to push the wave. Oh, actually gets tagged by the spear, but he zips out on his cheeky little grappling hook, and it will be a Drake on the other side of the map in favor of V5.
I like this from FPX though. They already know that, look, Dragon, as we said, should be V5, so they try to make a play on the top side. Unfortunately, not quite able to make it work. But still, you can see Langx, now that he has the 4 kills already picked up for himself, that Divine Sunder now completed, he's going to be so damn strong in the side lane. And actually not going towards the Triforce, which I thought he might try and play it through side lanes. Much more looking like he's going to go Divine Sunder in towards that Sterix gauge and look to just lock down some of the key carries on FPX for the follow-up from WeiWei, Mole, Trigger, and just separate out these fights so FPX can't try and contest.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge though, isn't it? It is going to be difficult to try and make that happen with squads here. But the gold lead, right? It's almost 3,000 in favor of V5. This is a similar gold lead to what we were seeing at about 20 minutes in the last game. So V5 actually managing to speed themselves up over the course of this series. And now with Herald onto the map, you can see Trigger's moved up there. They will be able to just start this one off. FPX, I feel like they do have to contest, right? I feel like when you're in this position, you maybe just fight everything that comes out and try and look for the team fight win.
Well, the thing here is that, like, FPX have committed Nuguri as well. So V5 know this is a 4 versus 5 with no TP onto Langx. So Langx should realistically just be trading this for that bot side tower. But unfortunately for him, I don't know if they've spotted this as a 4v5 because Langx is not focused on the structure.
Yeah, Langx, the TM1 was already taken, I think, so he was just waiting for the minion wave to
oh yeah, he moved over towards the Krugs though, so I was actually waiting to see like when he was going to try and go towards the tower, but unfortunately the Rift Tower will go towards FPX. You're going to look at Nuguri, who will be in a position now to try and contest that as well. And looks like, unfortunately, V5 just give that up without really having any sort of contest.
Yeah, not much available on the map for them to really be able to answer with there, so unfortunate situation for V5, but not the end of the world for them. As with all Rift Heralds, the question again becomes, what can FPX get off the back of this? It's not about getting the Herald, it's about getting a tower with that Herald. And when you're not managing to get priority in any of your lanes, that can be a difficult task.
Well, at least at the moment, it looks like with the push power that they have, V5 might have been able to turn this in towards top tower, but actually Beichuan was hiding underneath doing these portrait there, so with the 2 people up on top side, it looks like V5 aren't going to try and push too much. So a nice reset timing coming in from FPX, and now we've got 2.5 minutes until the next dragon. Should give FPX a little bit of an opportunity now to try and push out this bottom side of the map and rotate Nuguri in towards mid, see if they can create these numbers advantages that can either move Lwx up towards the top side and you create your numbers advantage there, or as we talked about with Kennen moving in towards mid, seeing if you can make it happen for yourselves.
Well, FPX is going to slam the Herald up on that top side. It won't finish the tower, but it'll get a good amount of damage done. At very least, that'll be able to be finished off if something happens towards that next Drake, because maybe FPX thinking, perhaps that's not a Drake that they can fight over after all. 3,000 gold down right now as V5 push up towards the top side of the map. Doinb is here, but he's alone. WeiWei did use the Predator there, but won't find anything off the back of that.
You can see a lot of members of FPX here, even Lwx rotating up. You've got Nuguri who still has his TP available, although I think you'd like to keep that for that dragon fight.
Feels like a bit of an overcommitment using the lilting lullaby
yeah.
there for WeiWei. It seems like maybe you could actually just dive Doinb while he's full health on set under a tower. Perhaps maybe a little overzealous. Perhaps thought Doinb was about to go in for the all-in, but calling across onto Doinb. Good bit of damage. In with the flash goes Doinb. Showstopper underneath the tower. Mole has been baited and outsmarted by Doinb. That's a mid-diff right there.
Yeah, and this is just messy from V5. You talk about like the misuse of the abilities, but also Mo just getting that little bit too close. And honestly, I think the reason we saw WeiWei throw out that ultimate was that they were thinking, okay, we'll see FPX go down towards this bottom side. We'll see the likes of Lwx show a mid. And when they didn't, they went, hang on a second, something funky's going on, so they rightfully back off. But that's where Mole should not be looking to overextend in towards that top side, especially when you look at the Ghost and the Flash still available on 22.
to see right here. And now V5 have to answer elsewhere on the map. Doinb still up on the top side. That's where the advantage was taken. They will crash a wave into that top tier 2. But V5 have control of the bottom half of the map. Take the mid tier 1. They can move over to the Drake zone. Let's take another look because this was real pretty from Doinb. I'm not gonna lie. Flash just in, gets the face breaker, and then I mean the rest kind of explains itself.
Yeah, at this stage, like if you've got Flash and Ghost on towards Doinb, Mo can't be pushing up here alone. He needs the help of his team, and unfortunately doesn't get it. Rightfully, though, doesn't burn the Flash, so at least has a little bit more safety for any of these shenanigans that might pop up in the next little while. Dragon, though, does go the way of V5, but at FPX really contesting. So FPX are realizing, look, with this 3,000 gold lead that V5 have accumulated for themselves, there's no point in us trying to fight. Let's just see if we can continue to pick members off and whittle away at that gold lead. V5.
Yeah, and Lucian, I don't think we've really talked enough about Lucian this game. Look at his scoreline right now. 4-0-2. This guy is a monster. He's a full level up onto Nuguri right now. Consistently threatening in that side lane, making sure FPX know if they commit too hard to the top side of the map, he will punish them. And Nuguri having a bit of a hard time. We said it in game number 1. His Aatrox really struggled to get involved in any of the fights. Now game number 2, 0-4 on this Kennen. Sure, you do pick the Kennen for the team fights, but that doesn't mean you should be going 0-4 in the lane games.
Yeah, and it feels like after what was a stellar start to the split for Nuguri, we're now starting to see the creep in of the old school LCK Nuguri with the 0-3, 0-4 power spikes, but unfortunately for him, we just haven't had those team fights really come to fruition just yet. And maybe with this Baron up, we can see FPX start to teeter more in towards those team fights. They did have fantastic vision control on that top side in the jungle of V5, but unfortunately, V5 have managed to just clear all that out. So it means that now they're not going to be quite able to find the nice TP flank that Nuguri would love to have for these engagements.
I'm not sure if I can hear birds outside your window or if that's a food trolley going
Oh, that
by.
is probably me, yes. Look, there is random, look, I've had fireworks outside, I've had everything going on outside this window, so if it's birds, that's like the least of our worries right now.
Yeah, it has been an adventure as Dagda's quarantine, but you know what? We live for adventures here at the LPL. That's why we love series like this, where we've got V5 and FPX just taking it to each other. But as we get towards the 25-minute mark, the average game time for both of these teams is sub 30 minutes. If we continue to go at this little bit slower pace, this is very quickly becoming an uncharacteristic game for both our teams. It's a bit of a tap there from Mo.
Look at bot, though. Look at bot. It's speeding up, Munch.
Oh no, Nuguri, you're in trouble. Slicing Maelstrom gets the stun on ppgod, who's still full HP. He doesn't take damage, man. Langx is able to just wail on Nuguri. Does actually manage to trade it in the end. ppgod goes down 1 for 1, but Langx access to the tower.
And that's the big one here. Having access to that bot lane tower means you've got to have the resets come in from FPX. You can already see Doinb's made his way down here, but he's going to be too late. That tower goes down, and Langx will escape. So even though it's a 1-for-1, you're still upgrading your lead for V5. And I love how effectively that they're playing through Langx, finding these small moments of opportunity where you don't have multiple objectives up. They aren't in a position as FPX they can take the Baron, so you can take that bot lane play and now take that top lane turret and make these leads even more drastic for V5.
And the difficult thing for Nuguri off the back of that one is that wasn't a Zhonya's. That was a Sol. So if they go for a repeat dive now, Nuguri will have his flash, but he will not be able to turn invincible, and Langx will have no mercy. Doinb learning that one the hard way in the bottom lane here, which, let's be honest, the bottom lane is Langx's domain at this stage of the game. The accidental triple rhyme. He can put so much pressure on the bottom side of the map, and now V5, they can start to play that Baron dance game when you've got this much split push pressure. It's just too easy.
Yeah, you need two people to deal with Langx right now. Like, that Shogun ult on Camille Q is really hurting right now, just with how far ahead this Camille is. That alone, the power that this champion has as well. So you certainly need to figure out a game plan here as FPX to deal with it. Having Nuguri just stay down here isn't enough. They need to start forcing fights where Nuguri can get in.
Trigger having to flash away, but there's the follow-up from Chris. They're trying to shut down the AD carry. First kill for FPX here. Trying to turn this into a fight as well. Mole, the next target. Cullen going through onto Beichuan, but they can't finish the kill. In with the showstopper. Doinb started it. Nuguri following up. That's the combo they were looking for. And they finally shut down V5. FPX get themselves on the scoreboard as they scurry over the Baron.
And that was beautiful from FPX. They found the perfect time. Langx had just reset, so there was no pressure on that bottom side. We just said they need to force these fights so they can use that Nuguri ultimate offensively and make something of it. And that was the perfect time. Doinb, flash, and that goes over the wall, gets on towards Trigger, and completely turns this in favor of FPX.
Beautiful stuff from FPX. This is why it's one of the teams you can never really truly count out, because they will find these moments and blow the game open. Langx, though, able to answer in the bottom side, as has been the story this entire game. Will finish that Drake off. Mole with a cheeky little KS there to get himself 25 gold. But let's take another look, because Trigger just oversteps.
Yeah, big mistake from Trigger. This flash on Sett, nobody on V5 seems to understand that it is available. So that's the second time now. And Trigger, like, you were always going to end up in a world of pain, right? Because either you get the flash coming in from Doinb, maybe you manage to escape, but you got the Alistar who's going to follow up as well. And this TP from Nuguri was perfect because, again, you're getting so many opportunities here with that Maelstrom to set up these plays. Now you've got Baron. Now you've got, like, the likes of the Zhonya's completed for both the Kennen and for Beichuan as well, which means team fights just become so much easier for them.
So now FPX, after all of that, after this turbulent early game, are large and in charge. 1,000 gold lead for them. With the Baron, they can begin hitting away on these towers. And look how quickly these towers go down with a Tristana on your squad. That's the first one dropping. They want to fight for themselves as Doinb goes in, gets the stun onto Mole. Haymaker in as well. Just tries to play on the retreat now. In a little bit of trouble, but in fact, they just go for the jungler. Easy pickup here now. FPX trying to retreat. Langx threatening on the side, but threatening what? If he goes in, he's just going to get taken down himself. There's nothing to threaten. And FPX, they just want to try and end the game. Onto the Nexus towers they go. Huge damage exploding out from Lwx. The bomb onto everyone. Langx engages onto Lwx. Forced away, but it's a pick onto Chris. Now in across everyone is ppgod. The stuns are there. Taking down Nuguri. Trigger onto the backline. V5 holding onto the game. V5 holding onto their playoff dream.
They clutch it out right at the finish line, the 4 versus 5, and V5 are able to come out on top. A magnificent engage from Langx, ppgod with the amazing follow-up, and V5 now, they're the ones that are running down this mid lane. They're the ones that can threaten the inhibitor turrets of FPX.
It's beautiful to see here from V5. They don't let this dominant early game slip away from them. Honestly, that would have been a heartbreaking loss if it ended right there, but FPX now have to go back to the drawing board a little bit, and V5 can set the map up again. But it feels like this game has been exactly what we talked about coming straight out of Champs, like ease of execution. FPX in the straight up 5v5 win out. When it's extended, when they can't get the big combo off, it doesn't work out.
Well, this is the thing. It's not a 5v5 to start off. Langx was pushing in mid lane, and again, Doinb recognizes this. He goes to engage. They get the pick. It's all looking amazing. But then when Langx actually joins in, that's where the difference is. Everyone groups up the towers. Langx sets up with the hook shot, locks down Lwx for ppgod to slide on in here. Gets that big attract repel across the team. And from there, like, the damage is done. You have so much AoE damage and so much burst damage that can come through from Trigger and from Mole. It's just insane. So FPX end up dropping right at the end.
So Nuguri now has the Zhonya's available in these fights. So keep your eyes out for the slicing Maelstrom. And it looks like FPX are just going to run straight at them through the mid lane here. Minute and a half until Drake, 2 minutes on the Baron. Okay, FPX going to hold their horses here and reset on the map. Once again, I want to reiterate that V5, they can win through side lane pressure if they can get pressure in the side lanes. That's easier said than done.
Especially with an inhibitor down. Like, you now need this Camille to be in the top side. She's going to have a very slow push against that. Now, they have Mole up there at the moment. He has TP, so can do some work. But in the grand scheme of things, where you're looking at this dragon in a minute, you've got constant pressure on the top side of the map. You can pretty much push in here as FPX as a 5-man to guarantee mid-pressure, and then you can walk across through river and get that control. But right now, LWX is on bot side, Chris actually down there as well, so a bit of a split map here from FPX. Means that V5 are able to move in here and get the vision they need.
Crisply goes, he's going to engage this fight. He tries on ppgod if he can get the stuns across the team, but it's Lucian going in, Trigger on the back line as well, shutting down Beichuan, but it's going to be Nuguri stopping Trigger, doing what he wants, stopping the AD carry from running rampant. In the meantime, FPX winning the bottom side of the fight. He's 2 versus 3 right here, and Lucian shuts them down. 3v3 across the map, Doinb the target, not tanky enough as he's taken down by Lucian, who chases on for more. Lucian wants this game right here, trying to shut down. It's going to be 3 for 2 in the end in a chaotic fight for V5, looking for an Infernal Soul.
And that's the thing, although Nuguri was able to split that fight with his Maelstrom, he didn't hit anyone with this. You got the stopwatch coming in from this Camille, Lucian, then able to terrorize the fight after he comes out of that stasis. And V5, they win the fight, they win that Infernal Soul, and now they're in a very good position for this Baron in 20 seconds, but they do need to sort out their base. Minions are streaming in, and this could give the opportunity for FPX if they're quick enough to try and take this objective, but when you've still got LWX and Doinb who are only just coming out of the base, it's not looking likely they'll be able to threaten that Baron before V5 can contest.
They can at the very least get vision of the area and deny vision from V5, but I love how close this game has been. Onto the Baron go FPX. V5 playing for their playoff hopes and dreams. FPX playing for seeding right now. V5 won game 1 already. If they can just finish this one off, they keep their playoff dreams alive. But FPX onto the Baron as it's down to half HP already. Remember, WeiWei is here. No flash available, so he has to go all the way around if he wants to try and contest the smite. Chris Peck's flashing away. Baron will go down to FPX. Can they get away with it is the question. Sleep onto 2 in the back line, but Chris playing body block here, trying to keep his team alive. ppgod there, Trigger into the back line as well, and this is V5 winning out on the fight, chasing down onto Doinb. Crisp is low as well, and Lucian chasing them down as ever. This game still has his flash if he wants to chase down Nuguri. He's gonna hook shot over first, can't get the slow. Nuguri gets out, it doesn't matter though. V5 win the fight, and they can run straight into the face.
A beautiful play once again from V5 ppgod. The flash in onto the backline. The follow-up that was needed for WeiWei's lullaby, and now they're looking to close this out.
Doinb pulling everyone in. It's a great haymaker, but it's not enough damage. Lucian gets yet another kill onto Nuguri, and V5 pull off the upset and keep the playoff dream alive.
V5 with a magnificent win over FPX. Understand was a super strong performance where we saw WeiWei stepping up masterfully in that jungle, like consistently having these plays towards top side. Now in game number 1, it was more about getting himself ahead on this Hecarim and trying to see if he could have the impact in these team fights, which he most certainly could. But in game number 2, getting Lucian ahead, we talked about how this Camille could become a real thorn in the side of FPX. And when you're sticking 2 kills up, then you get a team fight win, and suddenly this Camille has 4 kills in her pocket. This is going to be insanely difficult for FPX to contend with, and they just couldn't. From that point on, V5 were in full control, and we talked about it. You brought out some amazing stats saying that 85% of the time the V5 are ahead of 15 minutes, they win. And you can see why. They are so good at snowballing these advantages.
Yeah, it was 86.7% of the time, but guess what? With that win, that statistic ticks up just a little bit. They were tied in first place on that statistic with JDG. With that win in the books, V5 now holds sole possession of first place when it comes to teams win rates when ahead at 15. So V5 officially the best team in the league at snowballing.
and look, we always kind of knew it, even from last split, that these guys were insane when they get these leads. But I want to give kind of like props across the board here to V5, because when you talk about them underperforming, there was a lot of people that stepped up today. Looking at the second game, Mole being able to avoid the amount of pressure that FPX were putting in towards him, and also just being able to control this lane so effectively against Doinb, really did lend itself towards WeiWei having much more impact than Beichuan could have in this series. allowing WeiWei to go towards Langx, get this guy fed. And honestly, ppgod, like, these are the plays that I was missing from ppgod. Like, every time last summer, this guy would have insane engages, whether it's Alistar, Threshes, it would be like crying out this guy's name for how good he looked on these support picks. Now, though, we've been a little bit lackluster. We haven't been seeing as much from him. This Rell game, he was consistently finding these multi-man engages, saving the fight in their own base, winning the fight at that Baron. Like, this is what I wanted from ppgod all split long.
And you know, it's the whole bot lane for V5 as well that have stepped up, because you're talking about how great ppgod has been. Trigger has been there to support ppgod. You know, that's the thing about these great engages. We've seen ppgod pull engages off with no follow-up whatsoever from V5 this split. Felt like Trigger on this Kaisa today really stepped up. And sure, he did get caught out in the mid game and nearly threw the entire game for his team, because that was the moment where FPX get Baron and then nearly end the game. Like, yeah, that was a big blunder. I'm not going to deny it. But some of these team fights where we got to see the big killer instincts, him pulling a lot of aggro in the fights and being able to get these assassinations, it felt like Trigger leveled up a little bit today.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think we still do have to give the caveat, which you kind of touched on there, was like, there was still some mistakes, right? I mean, we talk about Trigger getting caught out, Mo getting caught out in that top lane by Doinb as well. There's still some individual mistakes that are still whittling their way through, or at least investing into V5's game plan. So I think certainly they need to just try and right the ship a little bit, because these are the things that could certainly lose you games. And although they did get these really nice victories against FPX, they still need so much to get in towards playoffs. But at least they're giving themselves a fighting chance now.
Yeah, that's the thing. So for anyone that doesn't know how V5 make it to playoffs at this point, they're now 6-9 in the standings. They are on a -7 game difference. So if they can win their final series, which will be against IG, I know, a tall order in of itself, but let's just, for the sake of this conversation, say that they could beat IG 2-0, right? That'll put them at a -5 game difference on 7 and 9, meaning they need LNG to also finish 7 and 9. They need LNG to lose their series against both Suning and Rogue Warriors. I know, another tall order. We need some stars to align here for V5. But if that situation can occur, LNG can end up on a -7 game difference, meaning V5 could make it into playoffs. It's not a very likely set of circumstances, but what I'm saying is it's possible, goddammit.
What you're saying is there's a chance, and that's all that the V5 hopeful need. They will be praying like crazy to ppgod, but certainly, look, either way, I think we're starting to see this team come together. And I think that's been the biggest thing for Spring. I know it certainly has been for Lwx, who has been trying to wait and see when Trigger is able to kind of come into his own as an AD carry in the bot lane, when ppgod is able to kind of leave him alone, like not like a lost child in the bot lane anymore, but actually like be able to take care of himself, and he can have the impact elsewhere. And I think we are starting to see that certainly in the bottom side. I think we're starting to see the team fighting coming together for V5 as well. And when you're getting great performances from WeiWei, now we're starting to get that V5 magic back. And I'm hoping that when even if they don't manage to hit playoffs in spring, that they do see them come back like we saw last year in summer again.
Yeah, and Dagda, I want to take a second here and talk about the top side of the map, because forget WeiWei and Mole. That's not a duo I'm interested in anymore. It's WeiWei and Langx. Langx grabs the MVP off of the back of that game, and with WeiWei's help in the early game, was able to snowball an insane lead on that top side. 11, 0, and 8. Why don't we get to see this guy on carries more often?
I mean, the Superman pose just seems right as well. Yeah, just like, I'm here. And he was flying everywhere to save these fights. He looked so damn good on this Camille. And look, first 2 kills set up by WeiWei, but from that point forward, Langx was incredibly potent in these team fights. As we talked about, going for the Divine Sunder in towards Rabidus, but then the Sterix Gauge gave him a lot of sustainability, a lot of damage in these team fights as well. And when you're so far ahead, Langx could tear apart everyone in FPX, regardless of how tanky they were.
Yeah, and honestly, his mechanics in these team fights as well. This was the fight that won them the game, right? This was the fight where they hold on. PP got able to start it off, Trigger with a really great assassination, but it was Langx that actually started that play, right? It was Langx that set the team up for success. And when you look at these team fights, they are so chaotic, but that's exactly Camille's comfort zone.
Yeah, and you can see in this team fight as well, his decision-making is fantastic, where jumping on towards Nuguri, baiting out that Maelstrom just so he can use that stasis and not actually take much damage, forces Nuguri to kind of go, right, how the hell am I supposed to get anything done here? And being able to bait out these big team fight tools was why V5 were able to win these fights, because we already saw that when FPX were allowed to play their style of team fight, where they're the ones engaging, V5 just didn't really have anything in the tank. But if you're able to loosen the cobblestones underneath the footing of FPX, that's when V5 can have success. And certainly that was Langx who was setting up those plays.
Really, really beautiful from V5. And we have to go on the negative side of the board as well here, Dagda. This is not a good look for FPX, because this wasn't just V5 looking real good. This was FPX not looking so hot today, when this is a team that, you know, was in 5th place. They will now be going down to 7th place off the back of this loss, because obviously the top of the table is so damn close right now. This is not the way they wanted to end this round robin out. They have looked like the best team in the league earlier on in this split. It's been a bit shaky since then, and it doesn't feel like that performance is... It feels like that's getting a little bit worse rather than getting better.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of been several members for me that have been very suspect. The draft, at least, sorry, to start things off for Doinb, I just didn't like the set. I felt like Doinb needs to be the one that's getting out of that mid lane to help affect those side lanes. And when you're sticking him on towards this set, Mole is perfectly happy to just take these champions that are shove him in. And we just didn't really see a huge amount from Doinb. Now, he had these flares, these moments, but I wanted to see more from him in the early game. Nuguri as well, getting caught out a lot in the top lane, meant that you were able to get these big leads consistently for V5. And I want to see Crisp getting out up at bot lane more. Like, work with Beichuan in the same way that we saw him work with Bo. He's just not really doing so right now, and FPX are struggling in the early stages as a result.
Well, with that, we're going to go into a quick break. Unfortunately, no winner's interview on this one. Wendy's going to be an absolute shambles. She probably had a Doinb headband with her, but it's just started because FPX lose out on that one. Sad times here at the LPL for FPX fans, but very happy times for the PP leavers out there. We're going into a break, and then when we get back, you don't want to miss this one. We're going into RNG against Top Esports, the series